On behalf of the Professional Baseball Strength and Conditioning Coaches Society, I'd like to welcome you to the PBSCCS Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Messina. All right, everybody, I'm here with Larry Adegoke of the New York Yankees organization. Larry, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate your time. Tell the listeners about yourself, if you would, please.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on here. I know you take a lot of time out of your schedule for doing this podcast, and also thanks for having this podcast. It's a great tool for myself and some of the newer coaches to learn from some of these guys who have a little bit more experience than just anybody who comes on the podcast and talks about their experiences in general. So it's great for all of us. So thank you for having us on here.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, and it's been good to me being able to talk to everybody and get the content out, and I think it's been good for everybody, so I appreciate you following and the support, and I look forward to hearing about you.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, my name is Larry Adegoke. I'm a minor league strength and conditioning coach for the New York Yankees organization. I was born in Gainesville, Florida, so naturally go Gators. I grew up in Snellville, Georgia. That's in Gwinnett County, for those of you familiar with the Gwinnett Braves or Gwinnett Stripers organization, right nearby there. I grew up playing hockey and football. Kind of odd, I know, the hockey thing. So my neighbors played hockey when I was growing up, and I kind of got into it when I was really young, about 7 or 8 years old. So that's the sport that I picked up. They continued to play that all through college and everything. I grew up in Gwinnett County, went to high school there. Played a couple years of junior hockey in Virginia and Philadelphia. Almost went to go play college hockey in school, but opted to go back home to Kennesaw State, where I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in exercise physiology. I played club hockey there, doing physical therapy school, but I got my first internship in strength and conditioning and kind of fell in love with that and kind of leaned toward that path instead.
Yeah, the hockey thing, we're going to get into it in a little bit here. I've seen it on your Instagram, and we talked about it at winter meetings. You still get on the ice, and you still look pretty good out there. I played hockey a long time too, so I can relate with the hockey stuff for sure.
I get a lot of weird looks from people, the Northerners, and they're like, "Wait, what? You're from Florida, you grew up in Georgia, and you played hockey and junior hockey and hockey at pretty high level." I'm like, yeah, I know, it's a really weird story.
Yeah, see, I grew up in Buffalo, so everybody plays hockey there because it's so cold and it's right by the Canadian border. So you go up and play all the Canadians all the time, but you don't hear as many people playing hockey in the South. So
correct, exactly. It's a little tight knit. So most of the people who grew up playing hockey. If I hear about anybody that played hockey in the South, I more than likely might know of, because it's not that large of a community, but it's great because you get to know everybody and it becomes a big family, everybody in the South that plays hockey, so you know all of them.
Yeah, I'm convinced, and I tell everybody, I think hockey players are the best athletes in the world.
Great.
And I will probably argue that until I die, but that's probably for a different day. So we'll be on the same page here, and the people that never played hockey or don't understand it, they can just pass over that part.
Yep, for sure. No doubt about that.
So I want to get it kicked off, man. I want to hear your best professional baseball story. I know you've been in the Appy League, so I'm sure you have some good stories. I want to hear your best story that you have so far.
Yeah, it was pretty tough for me to come up with one, but I think this past season, it was Star Wars night in Danville at the Braves affiliate. And, it's pregame. I have guys out there who are doing sprints. We're out in left center field. The guys are doing some arm swings out there in left center. And next thing you know, we look up and there's a helicopter flying over the stadium, passing over it a couple times. And then we just don't pay really much mind to it because, planes are flying over, helicopters flying over pretty often. Next thing you know, it kind of stops over the field. And we're just like, that's odd. And then guys are still on left center field, towards center field, and it starts to descend. The helicopter starts coming down, and I'm just like flagging them, waving my arms, flagging these guys back. Like, hey, get back over here. I'm on the line. Come back over here. And we're kind of like slowly walking back to the dugout, and we're looking at this helicopter like, what's going on? Because no one's made us aware of this. And like I said, it's Star Wars night, so this helicopter lands, and we think it's an emergency landing. We're not sure what's going on. Next thing you know, Darth Vader hops out, and he's fighting someone else. They have swords and lightsabers. They're like, what is going on? It was a pretty comical thing to see and witness.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. And Star Wars Day is such a huge thing in the minor leagues. And I think the best part is that nobody knew what was going on when
Oh,
with your
absolutely.
squad.
And then Darth Vader defeats whoever this nemesis is and just has a ball in his hand and walks out to home plate and throws out the first pitch. From the bump, throws it right down the middle. And we're just like, what? And then he walks back to his helicopter in center field, hops on, and they fly off. We were just in shock, honestly. We were in awe. We couldn't believe it.
I know when I asked you this, you weren't sure about a story that you had, but that might be one of the best stories I've ever had on here.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, pretty funny.
So kind of going off of, like I said, I see you on Instagram, you're out on the ice, you're working with guys at a facility out in Tampa, you're throwing with the guys, you're doing it all, man. And I kind of want to talk about the training that you do at that facility in the off season. There's a lot of downtime in the pro ball off season to train guys, and it seems like you're really maximizing that time. So tell us about the facility, tell us about the guys you're training there, just any relevant information that you have. We're all ears.
Yeah, so first and foremost, the facility is in downtown Tampa. It's called Diesel Fitness. So originally, when I came down here in 2016 for graduate school, which I completed at University of Tampa, I was looking for a place to train. So I was a former athlete, so I was looking for something. I was looking for something a little outside the commercial gym places, and I stumbled upon Diesel. I got to know the guys there pretty well, and they found out that I'd finished my undergrad in exercise physiology, and I was interested in strength and conditioning. And eventually, over a 6-month span, they kind of brought me on working with the youth kids, some middle schoolers and high schoolers. And I got to know the owner, Phil Wallen, really well, who's a really great mentor of mine, very intelligent guy who I love to just talk shop with all the time, every day. He's really passionate about what he does and very intelligent as well. From there, later that year, I actually got an offer from the Yankees to come on full-time, or actually part-time, working with performance science. So that was my first gig with the Yankees, was actually working with performance science, doing motion capture and data collection, slow motion camera stuff with that as well, data input. And then so I was doing both of those. So I was working with the Yankees as a performance science assistant, and I was working at Diesel as a coach with the youth and high school kids. From there, I kind of got a position from the Yankees in strength and conditioning. I was fortunate enough that they allowed me to kind of work with both, doing performance science. They allowed me to kind of hang around the gym and get to know the guys, get to know the program, see what was going on in there. And at the same time, Diesel was kind of trying to bring me on full time, but I already had that offer from the Yankees, and I kind of ran with that offer. So when I spoke with them, I was kind of like, well, I'm going to take this offer with the Yankees and stay over there and, get into professional baseball. And they kind of brought it up that since they have a handful of professional baseball players, they kind of wanted to bring me on in the off season and work with those guys there.
Nice. And now you are working with a ton of guys, it seems like.
We do, yeah. We have probably 35 guys there and 10 to 15 remote guys that we program for. And fortunately, I think Phil's done a great job of building a culture there where the guys love to come and work hard. The guys love to come and hang out. It's like their second home, which is great. And to touch on the training a little bit, we focus a lot on like that physical literacy and getting to know your bodies and how your body works and how it moves really well. So you'll see, I'm sure you've seen the videos of guys like just in there crawling around, their shoes off, and guys just doing all this funky stuff, which is kind of what kind of Diesel was built on, is guys just, feeling things out for themselves and getting to know themselves a little better, and then kind of branching off into more strength conditioning based stuff.
Yeah, no, I've seen all the videos and it looks really cool. And like I said, you're getting on the ice too, and you're out throwing with the guys. And like I said, there's a lot of downtime in the off season, but I'm a big believer that you have to like maximize that time. And for you, I mean, it seems like you're just coaching all the time. And what better way to, hone your skills and get better at your craft than to actually do it. So kudos to you for doing it.
Which is great. I look at it as a way of staying sharp, but it's also, for those of us, which is most of the people listening to the podcast, you're passionate about strength and conditioning, you love what you do. So I don't even look at it as continuing to work in the off season. I don't even look at it like that. I look at it as a way of, sharpening my skills, getting to know athletes, building these relationships with guys, building relationships with coaches, and getting to know other people very well, and working, just, staying in baseball and staying sharp during the off season.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree. And kind of along those lines, do you have any advice for any other coaches who may be looking to kind of get into a similar role in the off season about like maybe just networking or just anything like that that you want to, kind of push our way?
Yeah, so I would say probably just continue to learn from those around you and really take advantage of those opportunities in front of you. If you get an internship opportunity, whether it be the one, maybe sometimes you're looking for something specifically in baseball or maybe somewhere else, opportunities can lead you to different places just because, maybe you're looking for an internship in professional baseball and you didn't find one and you kind of got one in the private sector, but you don't want to enjoy it. I think it's probably best to take advantage of those opportunities that are in front of you and really run with those. And actually, a funny story I had the other day. One of the strength coaches over at Diesel, who's the same age as he's 26, and he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, I feel like I'm behind in life. I feel like I'm the same age as you, but you've been in professional baseball for 3 years with a good organization." And he kind of went on with that. And I was kind of fumbled. I was like, I don't see it that way. I don't see it as you're behind in life. You might just take a different path. But, I think there's a lot of merit in taking, I think people become enamored with this fast route and doing things quickly and achieving things really quickly. But, just trusting that process and enjoying the journey along the way, I think there's a lot of merit with that as well.
Yeah, the appeal of the end goal or the end position, so to speak, is so big sometimes that you
Exactly.
forget about that process and that journey along the way. And like this was my 5th year in pro ball, and I look back to my first year in the Happy League, and I'm like, damn, I've come a long way from there. But you can look back at specific moments that were good, that were bad, that you learned as a coach, and all of those kind of bring you to where you're at. So if you sometimes forget where your feet are, and you look at the end goal, like you miss that whole process and that whole journey in between. So for sure, I agree
Of course,
100%.
yeah, it's so important to live in the now and focus on, obviously big picture and end goal is important and having a vision. But, when you're looking at if you're always daydreaming and off in this vision, you're going to forget what you're doing in the moment. So
Yeah, and I think if you stay in the moment and you do what you're supposed to and you work hard and you continue to learn and network and everything, eventually all of that work is going to pay off anyways. Where if you're daydreaming and it's like, hey, I need your help, and you're like, oh, no, not now. I'm thinking about going to the big leagues. It's like, well, okay, maybe you're never going to get to the big leagues because you're too
exactly,
busy
exactly,
living in that daydream.
exactly. There's a better view on the scenic route for sure.
I love that. I love that. And kind of going along with that, and the working hard and being successful, you have been strength and conditioning coach of the year, and I believe it's multiple times now. So first and foremost, congrats to you on that. I've said it a million times on the podcast. It is voted by your peers in the league, so you're clearly doing something right. And I want to know what it is that you're doing that's making you so successful.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think first and foremost, I've been lucky enough to work with some tremendous strength coaches in the Appalachian League over the past couple of years. Guys that I've been fortunate enough to learn from, collaborate with, talk to them about stuff that worked and didn't work. Because obviously my first year there was my first year in baseball. So that was my first year at an affiliate. So I wasn't sure what to expect. I think one thing that helped me out was I was fortunate enough that one of my good friends that I still speak with almost every day, Chuck Bradway, who's with the Minnesota Twins organization, he was in Elizabethton at their affiliate. And that was also his first year in professional baseball. So we were always talking like, hey, man, what are we doing? What do we got? How are we supposed to do this? What do you think about this? How's this affiliate? We're going to travel to this place. How can we get food here? Where can we set things up? When's the best time to get on the field here and there? Where from the hotel, where's the best places to eat? Where can I get my guys food? Things like that. So I think I was fortunate enough to have Chuck there as well with me. And I think we both scratched each other's backs and helped each other out a ton. So yeah, that helped a lot. And all those strength coaches in the league these past 2 years have been tremendous help for me. So I've been fortunate enough to work with those guys.
Yeah, I think it's just people helping people, man. I know it's a competitive venue and you don't want to give away some of your stuff to somebody else because then their team might beat you. But especially at the lower levels, man, it's about developing the guys and getting them on good routines. And if one strength coach can help you, hey, if you guys get on the field at this time instead of this time, your work will be better. Like, so be it. I think we are all in the same boat trying to get the same things accomplished. And if we just help each other out, it goes a lot further and we can develop ourselves as coaches a lot better.
Exactly. Collaboration, not comparison. That's something I try to preach all the time is focus on collaborating with people, not comparing yourself to them or what they're doing, focus on working together to achieve something possibly bigger than both of you, you know?
Yeah, agreed, 100%. And if you have those people in the league who you can talk to and are kind of in your corner, like it goes a really, really long way at every level. I mean, this is my first year in AAA this year, and I knew a few of the guys, and I'd text them like, "Hey, I need some, some options for food for the team. What's in your city?" Like, just things like that, man. It goes a long way in helping everybody just give the players a better experience.
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
So, what do you believe in within strength and conditioning that others think you are crazy for believing?
Huh, that's a good question. I think most of us come up with pretty cliche answers for this one, but I think everybody's kind of evolved and transitioned that into something for a bigger picture. I think mine's probably, I don't believe in limitations. I think the guys who are fast can get faster. The guys who are strong can get stronger. If your goal is to throw harder, then throw harder. I think as strength coaches, our job is to help guys maximize their potential. And that being said, I think maximizing that potential is applying that proper, musculoskeletal stress, neurological stress, mechanical stress, progressively overloading the systems, which should create, hopefully adaptability so guys can really, like we said, get faster, get stronger, throw harder, and these things by progressively overloading them, And actually a great analogy I heard was Dr. Ahmad, who's the team doctor for New York Yankees. He was recently on a podcast, and I heard him. Maybe it was with Cressy. Don't quote me on that, but he said, "Hey, if you go outside and rub your hand on the concrete really hard, it's gonna start bleeding. But if you rub your hand a little in concrete today, a little tomorrow, maybe a little more the next day, eventually you'll be able to rub your hand really hard on the concrete and you'll be fine. You develop that toughness." So that's the way I look at the body, and the way we train is essentially we're overloading ourselves and eventually creating this adaptability to the stimuli and stresses so we can handle them, in a safe manner.
Yeah, and I like the thing. I like the limitations thing. Like we have a guy here in our organization, and he interned with Altus, and he had one of the fastest guys in baseball come to him to work with him in this off season. And the first thing the guy said is, "I want to get faster." Like, this is one of the fastest guys in baseball. He wants to get faster, and he made him faster. You know what I mean? And it's the limits are kind of only set by like our mind and like our preconceived notions of things. Like 20 years ago, nobody, did people think like guys are going to be throwing 100 or hitting, balls a million miles? Like, probably not. And then with the training and the progressions and things like that, like things change. And now it's like, well, what is the limit? I don't know. We shouldn't really put any limitations on anything. We can always get stronger, faster, bigger, whatever it is.
Exactly. These psychological blocks that we have kind of left a lot of untapped physical potential out there for us because we don't believe in achieving something even greater than what we can do now, So I call them psychological blocks, and that's what's preventing us from achieving something just because we don't think we can do it, And I think obviously we've all been looking into how can we get rid of these psychological blocks? How can we convince our athletes, or not even convince them, but have them truly believe that they can achieve something greater than what they're doing now, and become better. And like I said, maximizing the potential, because I almost think it's, potentially an injustice. If you're not helping the athlete maximize the potential, then, it's maybe not, I feel like we might not be doing a job if we're not doing that,
Yeah, I'm there with you, man. The thing for me, like the mental blocks is, I'm a meathead. So like in lifting terms, it relates to me. And like, if a guy's like, "I can't squat 400, I can't squat 400," and then they hit 400, and then on the same day they hit 420. Well, they didn't just magically get stronger there. It was just they had a mental block about 400, and once they pushed past that, it was, "Oh shit, I hit 400. I can hit 420, no problem." I've seen it many, many times, and it's the same thing in sports, man. It's just, "I can't run faster. I'm a slow guy." Well, guess what? Your home the first time is improved. Like, "Oh, really? I bet I could run even faster then." It's like, it's just the mental things, like you said, more. I mean, obviously there are physical limitations, of course, but we put a lot of limitations on ourselves with our mental attitude or mental blocks or whatever you want to call it. I think we're blocking ourselves from reaching that maximum potential. And like you said, as strength coaches, that's our job, is to help them reach their maximum potential.
Absolutely, of course. Yep, for sure.
So do you have advice for others in the field? Not necessarily, I mean, we talked about the off-season stuff and the business aspect, but just in general, any advice that you want to share with us?
Another one, probably a little cliche, probably take advantage of the opportunities in front of you, like we spoke about. And I think a great example of that was an undergraduate, I interned for Jim Carizzi, who's a tremendous strength and conditioning coach at Kennesaw State University with their football program. I feel like in the moment, I didn't see the bigger picture of what he was trying to teach us, how to be leaders, how to be good coaches. When we were showing up there at 4 a.m. or 4:30 and cleaning and, doing these TED Talk Tuesdays, staying after 2 hours, or Wisdom Wednesdays, and reading these papers and stuff like that. At the time, I was just more focused and interested on how I want to know more about strength and conditioning. I want to know more about how getting my guys bigger, stronger. That's all I care about at the time. I feel like at the time I didn't really understand the foundation, what he was building, about how he really was teaching us strength and conditioning, teaching us how to be better people and better coaches. But he was doing it in a manner of, teaching you leadership, teaching you how to be responsible and taking care of business. And in that way, it's building a foundation for us with our strength conditioning to make us better coaches.
Yeah, it's always funny, like when you're in the moment of a certain situation in your life and you just want one thing, whatever it is. And then when you look back 5 years later, you're like, damn, if I would have just had a little bit of a different mindset, like this would have been a totally different experience for me. And it's hard to do that in the moment sometimes. It really, really is. And then you look back and you're like, shit, I should have taken more advantage of this internship that I had. But at the time, I thought I was doing everything I could. And for me, like when we talk to players, I think that's a huge thing, is like, you don't want to be that guy who looks back on your career and is like, I could have worked harder. I could have did this. I could have did that. Like, you don't want to live with those what ifs. You want to get everything out of yourself while you're playing. And so that's kind of a mindset that we have to push on them, is like, take advantage of this opportunity right now, do everything you can, and I'm going to help you the best I can to get you to where you want to be. And there are guys, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, they're going to look back and be like, I really should have listened to that guy. And it's heartbreaking, for us, but
that was definitely one of those things where it's like, I looked back on it 2 years later and I was like, wow. I had, an epiphany where I was like, oh my God, now I realized what this guy was trying to teach me this whole time. And in the moment, I was just like, wanting to know about getting bigger, faster, stronger. That's all I cared about, when you're entering for strength and conditioning, especially in football, when this weight room's getting crazy and guys just throwing weight around. And when you guys sit down at the end of the day, you're just looking for more knowledge about how do I get guys stronger? And we're talking about TED Talks and, coaching and, philosophies and stuff like that. I'm like, I want to know about getting guys faster. I want to know about getting guys stronger. It took till years later when I realized, and I still stay in touch with Coach Gritzy now, what he was trying to teach us and the underlying values that he wanted to, push off to us.
Yeah, hindsight is always 20/20, right? So unfortunately. But kind of going along those lines, where are you going for continuing ed? Are there any books that you'd recommend or podcasts you're listening to, any seminars that you attend in your non-existent free time? Just where are you going for continuing ed?
For books, right now I'm reading Range by David Epstein. I think I've seen a couple people who are on that now as well. Because I think that's one topic that I've kind of been diving into a lot more, is that physical and mental development process and maturation. I think a lot of us are really looking at that specialization versus generalization. I've been looking at the David Epstein versus Malcolm Gladwell conversations that they've been having in the podcast they've been doing together. So I think that's the one thing we, in our sport, we become enamored with these young talents, and how do we continue to help these talents continue on the trajectory that they're on? Because a lot of these players maybe plateau. Some of these younger athletes, we're looking at them and the precocity, and they're just, elite athletes, and they plateau. Why is that? Why are they not continuing on this trajectory? Or even, maybe the college guys or something who have yet to peak or start to ascend and start climbing. How do we get these guys to start, going up and start progressing?
And then how about any seminars or any podcasts? I know you were talking about you were listening to your doc there. Are you any into podcasts a lot or not really?
I am, yeah. I listen to quite a few podcasts. I think most ones I listen to, I listen to Brute Strength by Michael Kazru. That's a good one. I actually was listening to, prior to this, I was listening to him with David Epstein. David Epstein was actually on his podcast today. They just released that. Then Whoop's podcast. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Whoop and their CEO, Willem Ahmed. He has a good podcast. They talk a lot about sleep and recovery, which is obviously a hot topic or a hot take in sports right now. Is how can we get these athletes that are playing every day? How can we help them recover quickly, recover efficiently? What things can we do that'll assist them in that? Strength and Scotch. That's Brandon Heavey. His podcast, really good one. They dive a lot of strength training, and they also talk about Scotch for you guys too. or drink or some scotch.
Well, it's been good so far, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but if you have a little time for me, I'd like to do a lightning round. It's 4 questions. If you got time, let's roll through it. What do you got for me?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, cool. So first one, who is your biggest influence in the field of strength and conditioning?
Biggest influence. I'd probably have to go with an entire group of people. It's probably the whole staff we have over at the Yankees, the strength and conditioning staff and medical staff, from the coordinators all the way to the minor league strength coaches. I think I believe that everybody you work with impacts you positively or negatively, and I think all those guys have impacted me positively. I've learned a lot from the minor league strength coaches, my peers. Most of them have been in baseball longer than I have, so I think coming from day one when I was interning with performance science, they were pretty open arms and brought me in and were teaching me things. Even when I was in the performance science department, teaching me things about the strength and conditioning department, till today when I still learn from those guys every day when I go in the weight room. And obviously the coordinators as well. They've taught me a ton. Excellent strength coaches and such a great staff that we have.
Right on. One piece of equipment to train with, what would it be?
Kettlebell.
Biggest accomplishment professionally and or personally?
Ooh. Probably getting my master's degree and even my undergraduate degree. I think a lot of us take that for granted, like, it's something easier. We just, I think most of us need to take a step back and look and be like, wow, that's a big accomplishment, finishing school, getting a couple of degrees, even doing our certification and all the stuff, CSCS, and it's a great accomplishment for all of us. Things like that, and just, continue to push and grow as strength coaches. I think every day we can look at that and be like, that's an accomplishment. Did we try to get better today? Did I get better today? Did I push myself? Did I challenge myself? Every day I look at that and I'm like, okay, I did those things. All right, that's an accomplishment in itself, so.
For sure. Last one from me. Any career other than strength and conditioning, what would you choose?
Oof. Probably something in engineering or biomechanics. I think when I was in undergraduate, that was something I really loved, was biomechanics. I love work with forces, vectors, torque, rotational forces, things like that. And that's something that definitely interests me a lot. So probably something in biomechanics or engineering.
Gotcha. Engineering, like a brand new barbell or something like that.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Brand new barbell or trap bar or something. I'll have to shoot that idea over to Sorinex or something.
I'm sure they could do it for you.
We'll see. You might find something on the market soon.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. If the listeners want to get in touch, learn more from you or about what you're doing at Diesel, where can we get in touch? Is social media the best place, or is there a better place to go?
Yeah, probably social media. On Instagram, Larry.strength. I'm not on the Twitter, or I don't use Facebook, so yeah, probably just the Instagram there. So
yeah, and I can speak for myself. I've seen all your stuff on Instagram, and I always like seeing your story every day and just seeing what you're up to, and if you're on the ice or if you're throwing or if you're lifting or I think you're out rollerblading recently too. I saw that one.
Yeah, for those of you familiar with Tampa, there's Bayshore, and it's about 3 or 4 miles long, just right there on the water. It's a great place to ride your bike or skate or, whatever, go for a run. So I try to get out there on my skates every couple of days. When I'm not, I do get on the ice as well with my men's league team. But whenever I'm not doing that, I try to get on the Bayshore and skate every couple of days.
Right on, man. If I'm ever in Tampa, we're going to go out and skate it together then.
We'll see about that. I'll hold you to that. So.
I'm down, man. I'm down. It's been a long time since I've been on rollerblades, but I'll do it.
Let's make it happen.
All right, man. All right. Sounds good to me. Again, thank you for coming on, and we'll be catching up real soon.
Of course. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, everybody. That concludes this episode with Larry. I hope you enjoyed this one. I would really, really recommend giving him a follow and checking out what he's doing at Diesel Fitness. 3 things that I took from Larry in this episode: take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, focus on collaborating with people and not comparing yourself to them, and be where your feet are at. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you again on the next one.